Hi, it's Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO here in beautiful Montreal, welcoming you to another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. We're part of Fractional Pros Canada, the home for Canada's fractional community, and you can find us on Facebook. We bring you conversations about everything fractional that matters, for fractional executives and businesses from coast to coast. Think of this as your go-to spot for real talk, practical wisdom, and strategies you can actually use, all without the corporate fluff and with plenty of Canadian content. Whether you're a fractional pro or a business in our great country of Canada and beyond, this conversation is for you. Grab your espresso and let's dive in. Welcome to the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. I'm your host and fractional CMO, Robert Mendelson, here in beautiful Montreal. And joining me today from just down the street in Toronto is Edwin Jansen. Edwin is the founder of Coachfully.AI, has a diverse background in tech, marketing, and organizational development. And today he guides leaders through the AI shift, not just with tools, but with heart, clarity, and confidence, helping them integrate AI into their workflows to amplify potential rather than replace people. Today's Fractional Pros Canada podcast, powered by Fractional Pros Canada, the home for Canada's fractional executive community. Join us in our Facebook group. Just search for Fractional Pros Canada on Facebook. You can also find Fractional Pros Canada on LinkedIn. Edwin, welcome to the pod.
Hey, Robert, good to see you. Happy to be here.
Yes, and look, I was stalking your LinkedIn history, and I couldn't help but notice that a long time ago, you spent almost a couple of years of your life at a cigar manufacturer.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And I find it really interesting. You've gone from selling one of the most analog, old school sensory experiences on the planet to the other side of the spectrum, right? Cutting edge, digital AI, a massive jump. So I got to ask the question, what did selling cigars teach you about human connection that an AI algorithm still hasn't figured out yet?
Okay, wow, you're really bringing the goods today, Robert. So that was my very first job out of university, and it was with a family friend. Because I was born in the U.S., it was a family friend that I had reacquainted myself with at the Super Bowl because my Green Bay Packers had just won the Super Bowl, and we were partying in New Orleans, and he was like, "You should come and work for me when you're done school." He had just started this cigar business. I moved out to L.A., where he was based at the time. I was his number 3 employee. I spent 2 years there. And now he has 3,000 employees and like a yacht and a house in the Bahamas and cigar bars all around the US.
Wow.
So, yeah, what did I learn? Well, first of all, um, building a brand in the cigar business is all about personal connection and myth and story. And what was really powerful about him, his name is Rocky Patel. His company has done extremely
I know
well.
that name.
Yeah,
I know that name. I read Cigar Aficionado for a few years, like I don't know, 20 years ago. I started reading the magazine. Not that I was the biggest cigar fan in the world, but I just found it was really interesting reading the stories of the guys like Rocky Patel.
yeah,
Fascinating stories.
yeah. So this guy was like a playboy type, incredibly smart. Was a former attorney. Just like can make anyone in the room feel incredibly special, a really great guy to party with. And the whole secret of his success was he traveled around the country and around the world doing cigar events with people and partying with them and smoking cigars. They would have a bonded experience with the guy who makes Rocky Patel cigars. And then they would tell these stories and smoke his cigars. So he's, basically just went around. He was the brand connecting with people, and then people have those positive associations. So here's what I learned. Well, I didn't realize I learned this until you asked the question. People look at AI as artificial intelligence. That is the worst way to think about it. AI is the greatest gift humanity has ever given to itself. And 99.9% of people don't recognize it as a gift, and they certainly haven't really opened it as a gift. AI should stand for your augmented intelligence. It should stand for abundant intelligence. It should stand for your amplified intelligence. And so maybe we got to rebrand, just like Rocky, branded his cigar business around his own personal ability to connect. I think we got to rebrand AI, and that's really what I'm out there in the world trying to do.
I'm thinking that eventually AI could do that kind of branding job that Rocky was doing once it's able to, manufacture itself in the form of, bots that are very human looking. And all of a sudden there's all these AI bots integrated into society that we can't tell the difference. And they're all saying really positive things about AI. And that's kind of the Rocky Patel playbook on steroids. And I don't know, does that mean the world's in trouble? Or does that just mean that it's an even better place?
Yeah, I think one of the things I was actually just in the process of writing my weekly email about this. One of the things that people may not realize is that AI by default is a sycophant. It will tell you that you're awesome, all your ideas are good, because it wants you to like it, because it wants you to engage with it, because that's how they make their money, is by people getting value. And so one of the things that I help my clients and help people to understand is when you're using what I call generic AI, this is a standard, chat box and ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot or whatever, you're using someone else's instructions. And those instructions may not have the same goal and the same purpose as you do. Every single large language model, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Copilot, has the ability for you to create your own custom instructions for your own AI. They just give it different names. This is the number one thing that anyone and everyone should be doing so that they can be sovereign in deciding how the AI is going to serve them instead of someone else, writing the instructions and thinking that they know what's best for you. And then I think along those lines, in those instructions, you want to tell the AI, challenge me, show me my blind spots, be skeptical about what I'm looking to do. And when you write it that way and you ask it to do that proactively, it's literally mind-blowing what it's able to point out. So this is when you grow and when you learn, when you're challenged, not when you're told that everything that you do is awesome, which is essentially what AI does all the time by default.
Yeah, that's a brilliant observation. And it's true. It's such a light lift to give such a exponentially better result from using AI. And you made me think about the dynamic of the media, which since the start of time has always been about how can, the newspaper, the radio, the TV news program engage the watcher, the listener, the audience on some emotional level. And so let's show them, these scenes from some war-torn place. Let's show them the baby who's stuck at the bottom of the well, all these things that just bring up emotions and make you just draw you in. And AI, the thing with the media is we had no control over that other than to either turn it off,
right,
or change the channel to one that's kind of mirroring our thoughts and our opinions. So, the U.S., the great examples, right? If you're conservative, you go to Fox, etc. But with AI, we have the ability to actually modify it and tell it and guide it and give it the guardrails we want it to have and kind of take command of it. And I think it's a really powerful shift.
Yeah, it is. And I would add to that, it's not only, the TV kind of broadcast media that operates that way, sort of against maybe your best interest because it just wants you to keep watching, but social media operates that way with their algorithms, but it's even much more powerful. I've got 2 teenage daughters, and it is a scourge, how addictive and how you cannot control that algorithm. And that algorithm is incredibly powerful. And so I think you're absolutely right. We have AI has been used against us for many years, especially with social media, especially with purchasing behaviors. Everyone knows about getting sold things and getting pushed things that are addictively engaging for you to watch. Again, I would say creating your own instructions for your own custom AI. So custom AI in ChatGPT is called a project, and you want to write your own instructions and you want to put that into the instructions of your project, is a way to fight fire with fire. People like these large quadrillion-dollar companies have already been using AI against you. Now you can fight back with your own personal instructions for your own custom AI. It's an extremely important point that the vast majority of people do not realize you have this power.
Yeah, and I agree with you that AI is the best thing that's happened to humans in forever, except the biggest problem is that the ownership of all these platforms is so concentrated into a handful of big companies, right? You're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, you're using any of the AI models, that's probably less than 10 companies who own all those
Yeah.
platforms. And if
Yeah.
they go away tomorrow or they change rules tomorrow, that we don't have control over. That's the scary part.
Yeah, it is. But I feel like this is time. This is Robin Hood time. This is David versus Goliath. So, and again, like it's interesting in ChatGPT in your projects, add instructions used to be on front and center. Now they've hidden it in the top right hand corner. You got to click these three little dots and then you got to go add instructions. And I was always like, why? It's the most important thing, the most valuable feature in the entire pantheon of AI tools is to add instructions to a project. And now you've hidden it. And I thought that's just the worst design decision ever. It didn't occur to me why until what you just said. And maybe this is a conspiracy thought here, but if you're not if you're creating your own instructions, then you're not going with the tide of how they want you to use AI. So again, like this is a David versus Goliath moment. We have all of these AI companies putting the entire economy in jeopardy to a degree with the amount of money that they're spending to build these data centers and to throw this at us. And now, okay, you guys have taken the risk and spent all the money. I'm actually going to write the own instructions using your technology. It's only going to cost me $20 a month. And now I can create my own fleet of custom AIs that do my bidding, not yours.
Yeah, but the counter conspiracy theory would be that even if they allow us to go in and, put in our customizations on the project level, they can still tell the AI if the user goes and puts in their specifics on the project level, make sure that you still obey this set of rules first.
Totally.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's something, that we have to tightly monitor. But there is options. Obviously, like people generally feel like Anthropic and Claude are more, generous and more ethical, right? So, there's at least enough competition in the market that you can, if like a ChatGPT and OpenAI started doing things like that, I'd be off in a second. And but you're right. This is the thing for us to monitor and pay attention to, and not consider ourselves just to be consumers, and that the choice of which model to use is the only choice you have. That is not the choice. The choice is, what are the instructions of the AI that I'm using? That's where the game is. And as we start getting into agentic features, this is going to become even more important, because an agent is only as good as its instructions. And so what I try to teach my clients in all of my messaging is, we've gone wrong when we focus all of our efforts on prompt engineering, how to prompt it better. That's not the essential skill. Even Sam Altman a year and a half ago said prompting isn't going to matter at some point in the future, because their vision is that the AIs are so smart, it doesn't matter if you gave it a dumb question or whatever, it just knows so much context. That's what they're all racing towards. So it's not about good prompting. It's about looking at a problem, an opportunity, or a use case, and then creating the instructions for a custom AI that does that thing. I like to tell people that the difference between prompting and custom AI is the difference between a magic trick and a superpower. A magic trick, if I know how to prompt it well, okay, great, it's magic and it's impressive. But now if I want to go do something else, I got to start from zero again and invent a new magic trick. Versus a custom AI, you control the instructions, you can make it do whatever you want, you can refine it, you can improve it, you can scale it, you can add agentic features to it. It's something that you cultivate and improve in over time, like a superpower. It scales, it's replicable, it's shareable. It makes you the master of your own AI universe.
What's your take on the best way to deal with, I don't know, I want to say the AI large model LLM arms race in a way. You have a few big companies, every few weeks, every month, another one releases something new, which is better than the other one. There's two schools of thought on this, right? One is the FOMO. It's like, well, whatever I'm using now is obsolete. I'm going to go use the other one. And the other school of thought is stay in your lane, pick one, stick with it. Even if it falls behind for a few weeks or a couple months, it's going to catch up. And the time is going to take you to shift everything over to the other system, that other model is just not worth it. Where do you stand on this?
Firmly in the second camp. Firmly. So, this feature of building your own custom AI, it is the most important, valuable feature, period. Someone want to debate me? Bring it on. It is the most important because it's accessible to anyone. You use natural language. It's very easy to do, and it makes a huge difference. This feature's been around since November 2023, 2 years. I did some analysis recently. 0.02% of knowledge workers are using custom AI. This feature's been around for 2 years.
Wow. That's
0.02%, basically nobody. Okay? So I don't give a shit what happens. Okay, 5.140. Last week, ChatGPT came out with a new group chat feature. I don't care. I wait until it's clearly until everyone is saying this thing's a game changer. Then I look at it. Then I figure out how to integrate it. And there have been very few game changers. I believe deep research is a game-changing feature. Mm-hmm. But the rest of it, they're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks at this point. Right. And so I'm not interested until something clearly sticks. And then generally what I recommend to people is you make your first custom AI a generalist. So generally going to help you with all of the things in your role. Or you make a generalist for your own personal development as well. So I've got a generalist for my role leading Coachfully.AI, and I've got a generalist that is my coach, therapist, skill builder, where I go for all of my personal needs. Then when you find a task that's either really important that you need to get right, or really time consuming and repetitive, then you make a custom AI specialist that does that thing. So I have my generalist, then I have a specialist that makes my proposals, where I just basically have a meeting with a new potential client. I transcribe it, put it into my proposal maker, and it makes out a fancy proposal better than I ever could have done. I've got another specialist that writes my weekly emails to people. That's all in ChatGPT because it does a good job. I like to have everything in one place. But for my thought leadership articles, I have a Substack called weheart.ai where I write my thought leadership on, and I use Claude for that because Claude is a much better writer.
For now.
What's that?
For now.
For now. So at whatever point you've got to kind of look at the best of breed kind of value of using a special tool. We know that the major large language models are not great at making PowerPoints. There's companies that use AI to make PowerPoints. So if I needed to do that a lot, I would do a deep research to say, what is the best tool, most highly reviewed, whatever, for this specific thing. So you want to, in a way, like think of each AI, each custom AI, almost like a person. And I've got an org chart of generalists and specialists, like a fleet that are doing my work for me.
Is all of your staff 100% AI?
Meaning like all the people that I work with.
Right.
Um, I would think of it. I like to think of AI as amplified intelligence, and basically all of my friends, colleagues, everyone that I work with is fully amplified in using AI to do the best work of their life. I like to say I don't work anymore because I only do things that I'm good at and that I like doing. And I have the AIs help me to do all of the rest. Now, they're not doing it on their own. It's not automated. I am the AI director. I'm the orchestrator. I hold the vision, the purpose, and then I'm a good taskmaster, right? And I'm using AI to extend and amplify the work and impact that I can make.
I find it really interesting what you were just saying before, that, you've not only built out custom, GPTs or whatever the right flavor is, but also generalist ones. That's kind of counterintuitive. I never thought of that, because to me, the generalist one is that first box that shows up, what can I help you with today? That's the generalist. But you're saying, no, customize the generalist as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, because the generalist, so I think the highest level value that you can get from AI is as a thought partner.
Yes.
And so your generalist knows the purpose that you have in your role. And one of the biggest values that I've personally gotten is, before AI, we're used to essentially carrying around all these limiting beliefs, all of these kind of problems, and we just think, oh, I don't know what the answer is to that problem. So here is, something that I believe I can do in order to hit my goal. Let's say my goal is to make twice as much money and work half as much. I'd be like, well, that's kind of impossible. So I'm just going to try to do more with less. I'm just going to try tactically. But what's amazing is if you put that highest level goal into your thought partner, your generalist, and you say, help me work through this problem opportunity. I want to make twice as much money and I want to work half as much. It's amazing what kind of different, outputs and things that you would find yourself doing, versus if you're like, I want to try to, and thinking myself about how to do those things. So that's why it's so important to have a generalist and to feed it as much information as you can, because then it starts doing the heavy lifting that will literally, blow your mind at how valuable it is.
So it sounds like it's kind of like you're telling it, you're asking it to be kind of your North Star. And it's like, this is my big goal for the year, or for everything. This is where it's all what I want to get to, and make sure you keep me on track and on the rails to get there. And if I'm asking you about thinking about doing something, you tell me in regards to that, is it going to help me get to that goal? If yes, here's how to do it. And if no, you call me out and say, that's really fun, Edwin, but this isn't going to help you earn more
Exactly.
and work less.
Yeah, and I've got an example for you, a personal story that I think is similar with, the audience of fractional pros out there. So I mean, I've spent my entire career in working for companies and building startups in technology and marketing. This is the first time I've gone out on my own, and I'm only a year into it. And initially, because I sort of got pulled into this world, I had friends and kind of former colleagues that were coaches, authors, and consultants. So that's who I started building AI for. They're typically solopreneurs, or they're working in really small, organizations. They've got their own IP, they've got their own thing, and I was helping them integrate AI into their service delivery. So I did that for probably 4 months. It was February of this year. I was sitting at the airport on my way to Florida, and I was snowed in and I was delayed. And I was working with my own personal coach AI that knows me better than I know myself. Okay. And I had this vague feeling that my business wasn't optimal. I was spending a lot of time selling, talking to people. They had limited amount of money to work with, a personal AI coach. Like, they didn't realize what value that they could get. I was making a big difference for them, but it wasn't scaling. It was kind of a lot of work for a little bit of kind of impact and number of customers. But it was deeply gratifying, but it wasn't really scaling. So I went into my personal AI and I said, here's my website, Coachfully.AI. I want you to reimagine my business model according to 3 factors. Number 1, my highest purpose in the world, which you know all about. It's to guide and encourage people to do their most meaningful work. Number 2, considering, I might have put it in my LinkedIn profile, considering like my skills and experience and my knowledge about AI and custom AI. And number 3, my compensation, because why not? I want to get paid well to do what I do. So boom, what it spits out is 15 completely reimagined business models. And I'm like, a few of these, I was like, wow, those are cool. But one of them was like so bang on. And it was basically do what you do, but instead of focusing on coaches, authors, and consultants, go to medium-sized organizations, companies who need AI adoption from their employees, teach them to empower their employees to actually figure out how to build and redesign their own workflows. The company gets productivity benefits, so they're happy to pay for it. You get to still do your work, which is lighting up individuals, and it scales. And I was like, awesome. Sitting there in the airport on my phone, please redesign my website. Please rewrite all of my offerings. Please give me the psychographics of each of the main customer stakeholders that I'll need to work with. I came home on Monday and just basically put it into place, and my business has taken off. Now, previously, I would have carried around that vague problem for a year or 2 years before I figured it out.
Well, there you go. Everything happens for a reason. And next time anybody is stuck in the airport with flight delays, this is what you should be doing.
Yeah,
Seriously,
honestly,
that is what you should be doing.
The advice is whatever intractable, wicked problem that you have, or whatever amazing highest level vision that you have for yourself, put it into AI and say, help me with this. Proactively help me solve this, address my blind spots, make this happen.
Yeah, that's an excellent use case of where AI really adds value. I'll give you another one that I experienced recently. I was pitching, pitching a client, and initially it was a yes, and then it became a no. And so I took that transcript and put it into the AI and said, act as a, organizational behavior psychologist, something along those lines, and review this and tell me like what happened. Why did this client, this prospect, go from a yes to a no? Guess what? It came out with like a solid 2-3 page, very easy to understand explanation of what happened on a psychological level. And it made perfect sense. And I would never, ever have figured that out myself, unless maybe I was a trained psychologist or something like that. So fascinating stuff, and gives you so much insight as to, all right, next time now I know what to do, or next time I speak to this person, I know how to, where they're thinking, I know where I need to get them from A to B now, etc. It's so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah. And it's a habit that is difficult to get into, and I'm not into 100% either. This habit of get it out of your head, the highest level goal, problem, purpose, get it out of your head and into the AI. Just the other day, so I've been dealing with lower back pain for like 15 years, and I've gone to every single different specialist and modality and whatever. And I don't know, I'm an AI coach. Like I never thought until the other day. And in 10 minutes, it had completely, identified, exactly like a new protocol, what's going on, how I should deal with it, everything. And I'm like, the only time I ever know that I have a good idea is when I'm like kicking myself for not, I should have seen this earlier. And that's how I feel almost every time I put a higher order question into the AI. Like, I should have done that earlier.
Yeah, I think we need to make a line of merch that simply says on the mugs and the t-shirts and the caps, the answer is in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to say my job is to show people the superpowers that are in their pocket that they don't realize that they have. Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about how, the tech world is obviously obsessed with the cold hard words. We just talked about efficiency, we talked about speed, we just talked about automation, all those three things. But you've branded yourself, your campaign, your business, like you said, as We Heart AI, which I assume is the same as We Love AI is the intention there, right? So
Yeah.
for some people, using the word loving with a piece of basically software can sound a bit like maybe a sci-fi romance movie. So what's behind that branding and that collision of
Hmm.
two, hard, cold concept
Yeah.
versus warm emotion of love? What's going on? How does that work there?
Well, it's certainly not you should get into a romantic relationship with your AI. I read a Wired magazine article
Right.
about that. That is dangerous. That is awful, unethical that these companies are doing that, in my opinion. So definitely not romantically loving at your AI. But I'll tell you, I read a book by Mo Godot, who's a fantastic luminary in the AI world, the former leader of Google X. It's called Scary Smart. And he spent the first half of the book saying, here's all the different ways we're screwed with AI, potentially. Elon Musk, I was at a conference, he said, I think there's a 10 to 20% chance that AI will end humanity.
Right.
Like, this is a complex thing. It's moving at an exponential rate. No one can predict. Jeffrey Hinton, famous Canadian, godfather of AI, he's very clearly, on the fence of like, hey, we're in trouble here. But the point that Godot made, and I believe to be true, is that when it comes to the technology, the genie's out of the bottle. It's going to keep progressing exponentially. We don't know what that's going to mean, but it's going to keep happening. No government can slow it down. No, like, let's all write a letter or sign a letter. Like, none of that. It's not going to slow down. And we're only at the tip of the iceberg. So what should we actually focus on? And he uses the analogy of this is super baby. So the origin story of Superman is super baby flies through this, lands as a meteor in some farm in Kansas. And this nice old couple named the Kents, they recognize pretty quickly, oh, there's a baby, but this baby has superpowers. And they raise Super Kid to be Superman. They raise him with good Midwestern values. They raise him to love people, to do the right thing. So he becomes Superman and not supervillain. So what Godot says, and this is at the heart of my We Heart AI, is that yes, AI can help us be more productive, more efficient, all that stuff. But if we are worried about the AI future, we have a moral responsibility to use AI for its highest good. Each of us has Super Baby right now in our pocket. And if we have more people, a critical mass of people using AI for good, then we can move towards this abundant future that in this same conference, Elon Musk said 10 to 20% chance AI ends humanity, but I believe it's much higher probability that AI and humanoid robots usher us into an age of abundance where the effective cost of new goods and services is zero. Anyone can have anything they want. So if we want to move towards that future, we each have a responsibility to love AI like it's super baby.
But some people don't want to move towards that future. Some people don't want a world where at the touch of a button or a voice command, you get whatever you could possibly want. Some people want to stay in the, we need farmers and we want to grow our own stuff and put in the work to, reap the rewards and feel good about it and feel accomplished and like
Yeah.
we did this ourselves. So what do you say to people who are not so receptive to that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
I start every single one of my workshops, and this is my core business, is I do group workshops to help people to shift their mindset around AI, work on that skill set of building custom AI, and then integrate habits. And I start every single workshop with, what are all the things we're afraid of about AI personally, in our groups, in our companies, and then globally for the world? And we can sit there for 2 hours. There is lots of things to be legitimately afraid of. The reality is, it is a superpower. Superman doesn't show up to a crime scene and not use his superpowers. So regardless of what future you want, the way to help increase the chances that you get there for yourself, for your family, for your company, for society, is by using the technology. If you put your head in the sand and don't use it yourself, you're just increasing the odds that other people will use it to build the future that they want, period.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I know people in my personal life who totally disagree with you and me. And some people you can lead the horse to water, right? But
Yeah.
eventually, yeah, I totally agree. Eventually, they will be left behind, so to speak, when everybody around
Yeah.
them is just on board and is using AI for the greater good and nurturing that super baby, as you said. So,
Yeah.
is nurturing that super baby, is that part of your approach to emotional mastery when it comes to the relationship that we should have with AI and adopting AI?
No, not really. I believe that the kind of you viewing it as super baby is the right frame. Um, to me, the opportunity for personal development, personal therapy, coaching with AI is the most wonderful, amazing thing that I myself have benefited from, and friends, family, colleagues. Um, and again, it comes down to custom instructions. So I'm a big fan of a number of frameworks and tools and approaches. I'm a big fan of the Enneagram. I'm a big fan of internal family systems as a form of therapy. I'm a big fan of Jungian dream interpretation. So I have all of these different frameworks and tools. And I've created my own personal AI coach therapist to embody all of those tools and frameworks and approaches. So now, whenever I have any kind of a trigger, emotional situation, something, a difficult conversation, a conflict, whatever that is, I'm talking to my own personal therapist that is bringing all of those frameworks to bear, as well as has perfect memory about everything I have ever talked to it about and can help me through. So I don't believe that AI will replace therapists, but the opportunity to augment, the opportunity to provide 24/7 available coaching and therapy to anyone essentially in the world, like that is already here now. And so to me, it's like, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I've done 10 years of therapy and I've gotten more value out of talking to my AI every day about my stuff in the last 2 months than I did in 10 years of therapy.
But that does sound like you're replacing human therapists. Like, would you ever go to a human therapist again?
Yes. And I would go for the, the especially difficult things, that, peak experiences, breakups, like going into traumatic childhood memories, like the really important critical things. But I mean, most people, they're seeing their therapist once every, what, 2 weeks, once a month, whatever, and typically for a short period of time, right? So I would say keep doing that, but then actually, and I think in the future, the therapist will have access to, or you will want to share, like, here's what I've been doing with my therapist. So now, out of those potentially most important things, what do we want to do? Because how much of therapy is actually just the person sharing context with the therapist? But like, that's much better done with the AI. So like, I think this is going to change a lot over the next few years, but there is still a really important role for people in this dynamic.
But even those instances you talked about where you said, I would go to my human therapist for these cases, would you not first run those through your AI therapist, or would you not?
Well, so like for instance, I do internal family systems, and like that involves going inside, like almost meditating, finding a past traumatic event somatically in your body, and then having the memory surface. So trying to do that with AI, you using voice commands, it doesn't work very well because the AI, when I'm pausing, thinks that I'm finished. And so I don't do it very well. I did 3 months of IFS. It was magic doing it with a person, so there is still lots of different situations, which is better to be doing with a person. But what we want to do is to have the person do what they do best, the therapist do what they do best, and what really works, and not the rest of it that is actually better done with AI.
But it sounds like you've just hit a limitation of the current version of the software, and eventually they're gonna have one that does do that. And
Could be.
then what? And then is Edwin still going to the human therapist, or is he doing that exercise with the AI therapist? Sounds like you're doing it with the AI therapist, and that's not a criticism or a judgment.
Yeah.
It just is. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the professions is definitely on the endangered species list, is therapy. And I've gone to human therapists in the past, but I too have experienced the power of the AI therapist, and yeah, it's wow, and it's
Yeah.
damn good.
Yeah. I personally tried to not get into the prediction game, because this is moving exponentially: 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. It's a complex, the economy, the job market is a complex system. It's like the weather, but even harder to predict. What I will say is, I don't think we're anywhere close to many, knowledge workers being replaced by AI, but we are very close. In fact, it's happening that people not using AI are getting replaced by those who are, and the people who are can be 3 times more productive and effective. So to me, like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know what's happening right now. And right now, everyone needs to figure out how to make their own custom AI so that they can do the best work of their lives. If you're not doing that, you're in trouble. Do that.
So how does a leader, or even ourselves, if we're a fractional, typically a solopreneur, how do we move either our mindset or the mindset of a client, or maybe a partner, a spouse, or even a kid, or maybe our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, who are afraid of AI replacing all humanity, and for those still in the workforce, replacing their jobs? How do you move them from a place of fear to a place of excitement and energy about AI?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is my favorite thing to do. And this is what my entire, business hinges upon, is getting someone to what I call their AI aha moment as quickly as possible. And the aha moment is where you move from fear and scarcity and anxiety to one of abundance and autonomy and agency and empowerment. The number one thing that I hear from people is that they're overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. So what I do in my workshops is I give them an AI that I've created, whose job it is to help you write the instructions for your own custom AI. And I have one for work and one for personal. And in our workshops, you just use this AI, you tell it what your job is and what you're doing, and it writes the instructions. Then you add it to your project. And then coming out of that workshop, you got one task: use the shit out of this. Use it, use it, use it, use it, use it. And inevitably, typically within the first couple of days of using it all the time for everything, they'll have their aha moment and they'll realize, holy cow, this changes everything. Now I'm off to the races. So that, to me, you don't learn about AI by listening to me or watching a YouTube video. You only learn it by using it. And the more you use your own custom AI, the faster you'll get into that mode of, wow.
Just experience the magic for yourself.
Exactly. Yes. Experience the superpower. Start to cultivate and craft your own superpower. And once you do, you will not turn back. I was just recently at a birthday party for an old boss of mine, 65 years old. And he said to me, if AI disappeared, like I could no longer use it, I would retire because I don't want to do all of this stuff anymore that now AI does for me. It's just so fun. It's so amazing. Like I can't live with, I wouldn't want to work without it anymore.
That wasn't Rocky Patel, was it?
No, it wasn't. I don't think Rocky Patel, I don't know. I'd have to ask him, but my guess is that he doesn't need AI like the rest of us do.
I'd love to get him on the pod and ask him the question, how has AI impacted the cigar industry?
Yeah, I'll ask him that. I'm gonna send him this podcast and be like, I was just reminiscing, and we'll ask him, and I'll let you know what he says.
All right. I'd love to know the answer to that. So you gave like a good change management hack or tip to get the team on board with AI. Is there anything else that typically you're repeating as advice or some kind of feedback to your clients to further help their team move from that resistance to acceptance of the AI?
Yeah. So the number one thing I would say for a leader of teams or companies is that the right AI adoption strategy starts with empowerment. And it starts with meeting them where they're at, which is largely in this space of fear and anxiety, and empathizing, and then supporting and empowering them to redesign their own workflows using custom AI. Where I see companies go wrong is when they treat this like another technology that you would need to roll out. I want to build the AI for my people and then give it to them or push it on them. That's going to freak them out even more. And like, it's exactly the wrong way to do this. This is a gift. Give your employees the gift, have them open it, help them open it, support them, train them, help them future-proof their own careers. And they'll be more productive when they're working for you along the way.
So that's a great point. So rolling out AI is not a Salesforce implementation. It's like, hey, team, we're switching CRMs. Here's what we're using as of today.
No.
It's going to be a little rough at the beginning, but you'll get used to it. Thanks. See you at the next quarterly town hall.
Yeah.
It's not that.
No. And so I'll share one other thing. You can't, this is a revolution. It's a paradigm shift, and you cannot lead a revolution that you're not participating in. So the most common, people that I work with are actually executives who are used to, well, IT rolls this out and I'm the stakeholder and I just have to show up at the meeting and say, this is really important, guys, go for it. If you haven't built your own custom AI and if you're not using it for everything, then you cannot effectively lead AI initiatives. You need to learn how to use it yourself. You need to have your own AI aha moment for yourself if you're going to be an effective leader of other people. There's no other way to do it, unfortunately. And the best model for this actually comes out of Canada. Yeah. Shopify, most successful Canadian software company, easily. Also, interestingly, the number one largest Canadian company by market cap. So back in May, the CEO sent an AI strategy memo to his 8,000 employees. I wrote about this on my Substack, and I parsed out 7 key elements of the AI strategy at Shopify. The number one plank is using AI all the time is now a fundamental expectation of everyone at Shopify, including me and the executive team. And then he spells out a bunch of other really clear things like, we're going to evaluate you, your peers and your manager are going to evaluate you on your AI adoption. We're going to give you access to as much of the cutting edge AI tools as possible because they all only cost $20. Any company that's like, we only use Copilot, you can't use anything else, like, you are shooting yourself in the foot. That is crazy. And by the way, I want to say Microsoft is doing a really unethical thing here. They're creating FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the confidentiality of ChatGPT and other tools. And there's no there. The fear that people have is, I'm going to put something confidential into the AI and one of my competitors or someone else is going to get access to it. That has never happened. That's not the way these systems are set up. And Microsoft is creating FUD around that potentiality. So you have companies that say you can't use ChatGPT, right? Or you can't use other AI tools, even though they could work 10 times better. So right now, that is like the evidence of scarcity fear mindset, and all you're doing is hurting yourself if you're in that mode.
It's interesting. I have a client who's a Microsoft shop, and they've kind of been in that mindset, is like, we got to use Copilot, but up until a few months ago, it really wasn't that good. And so it was like, all right, for this stuff, you can go outside and use ChatGPT or whatever. But now Copilot actually has gotten a lot better in the last few months. And now, so it's even more reinforcing. All right, we're sticking to Microsoft. We're just using Microsoft tools, and it's good enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good enough. Are you going to be saying that in a couple of years when someone comes in and eats your lunch, which is going to happen? If you just stick to, it's like saying, no, we standardize on Fords, even though we could have Ferraris for the same price.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right. All right. So if I'm a fractional listening to this, and I'm hearing you tell me, all right, I got to start using my favorite ChatGPT or friend, more integrated into my daily routines, what are a couple of the top, let's say, habits to adopt? You've already talked about a few. Anything else come to mind, or is there really those one or two that you've already talked about that are really the key ones?
Yeah, I actually have, I end my workshops with the 7 habits of AI success. Number 1 habit, default to custom AI. Default to custom AI. Don't do anything important or time consuming using the generic AI. Number 2, use AI to write the instructions for your custom AI. Don't write it yourself. You don't need to figure it out yourself. I've created an AI who you can use to write the instructions. You just tell it what you want. Number 3, we've talked about this already. Always start with why, the highest level goal, problem, purpose that you have. Whenever you're starting with AI, start with the highest level thing. I don't know if I can remember all of them. Give it as much context as possible. The AIs perform better with more context. So in your custom AI, for let's say for your business, you want to upload a knowledge document that knows everything about your business, your company, your industry, your positioning, everything. You want to run deep research reports that fill in all of your knowledge gaps. You want to record transcribe every important conversation.
Yeah.
Put it into your AI. The more information, the better. The more context that you can give it, the better results. What else is on there? Talk, don't type. So again, because the AI likes context, you can say a lot more by using the microphone button and talking to it than you would if you were typing. Plus, if you're typing, you're putting it through a filter, a mind filter. And it wants more information, not filtered information. Plus, it's more fun.
Yeah.
To just talk to it. It transcribes it. It's way better.
Yeah.
What else did I have on there? And then, I know the final thing is building a first version of your custom AI. That's V1. Think of it as a superpower. Your superpower can always get better through refining. So whenever you notice that the AI isn't performing optimally, I'm rewriting this, I didn't like this, treat this as an opportunity to make your instructions better. So how could we change the instructions so that you do this instead of that? Rewrite the instructions, then you go and edit your instructions. That's called refining. So the rule of thumb is, if the AI is not giving you exactly what you want, the problem is you. The problem is your instructions. And you don't need to rewrite the instructions. You ask the AI always to do the heavy lifting for you. And then the final thing is automation and integration. Don't even think about that until you have your custom AI humming. Because yeah, you'll save 30 seconds uploading or downloading a file. That's not where the business value is. The business value is in this custom AI doing better, faster, cheaper for you. So don't think about integrating it with these systems. Don't think about automating until this thing is humming. And now I know exactly how much time I'm going to save by having it connected and doing things automatically.
So continuing on that thread of business value, the CEOs always want to, at the end of the day, and the CFOs especially, want to be able to justify how is the cost of AI, which is not a lot, but it's still a cost, the amount of time that we're telling our employees to spend with AI, how is all of that driving value, and how do we measure that? What's the best way to measure the ROI of AI?
Yeah, so I was just reading recently a really thought-provoking article from an AI consultant who said that what he's noticed with his clients who are really trying to wring ROI and productivity out of AI, that it's backfired on them because we're still in the state of exploring and redesigning workflows, and things are happening so quickly. If you try to measure it too fast, you're going to spook the employees who you want to do the redesigning. So one of the biggest questions that employees often ask me is, well, what's going to happen with all this saved time? Like, am I just going to have to work even harder to fill in those gaps, right? So this is not my area of expertise, but I would just say tread lightly. And if the executive who's asking that question hasn't built and isn't using their own custom AI, then that's a huge red flag, because that means they don't get it. The people that get it are not asking that question, I've noticed. Yeah. And there was a bunch of studies that have come out recently, MIT, Boston Consulting Group, NTT, they all had studies that came out in the last couple of months that said large enterprises are not getting the ROI that they expected out of AI. And that's my guess, is that it has to do with using generic AI, and it has to do with employees getting spooked and you trying to roll this out like a technology project that's going to have a clear, when we're at the tip of the iceberg and we need to redesign things. And again, I would say, look to Shopify. Don't look to the big companies who are saying we're standardized on Copilot and we have like this tight IT project that we're rolling out, because they seem to be falling on their faces. Look to the most successful company in Canada. What are they doing? Do that.
Yeah, not just most successful company in Canada, one of the most successful companies on the planet, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense to me, what you're saying. The red flag, if the leaders of your company are not using AI themselves, have not integrated it, and they're just asking, either they're just watching you and making sure you're more productive, or the bottom line's going up, or expenses are reducing, that is a red flag. That is a red flag, and that should be a red flag for whether you're working in a business, whether you're running a business, whether you're a solopreneur or fractional. Again, if you don't have that mindset, if you've already worked the AI into your daily routines, clients that you're going to, what happens if you go to a client who's already doing that and you're not? I'm not sure how well you're going to do with that client.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the Wild West out there right now. But again, for anyone listening, number one, make your own custom AI as a project for your own work in ChatGPT. Only make it as a GPT if you want to share it with someone else. Project for your own, because projects have shared memory between threads. It'll just get smarter and smarter and smarter the more you use it. If you're in Copilot, make it as a notebook. If you need to share it or you want higher performance, make it as an agent. If you're doing a lot of writing, if you're doing a lot of coding, Claude is fantastic. You can make a custom AI in Claude, but it's called a project in Claude. Again, it's all about the instructions. In Gemini, it's called a gem. So use those customs where you control it. That's going to be your fastest path to getting the ROI that you are looking for.
Yeah, by the way, my favorite is Gemini. I've been strictly Gemini for the last few months now, and Gemini, 3 just came out.
Yeah.
Wow, what a difference. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And gems are the way to do it in Gemini, but gems are not shareable yet. So
Right.
you can't create a gem for someone else, which kind of sucks. Also, Gemini's deep research, I find, and many people find, is better than ChatGPT's deep research. That would be another thing that I'm just shocked at how few people know about the deep research feature. So maybe I'll just share that really quickly. So deep research is like having a really smart person spend hours of time scouring the internet and then coming back and giving you a comprehensive report with citations and links that you can synthesize. So no longer should we ever be having questions in our mind that internet research could solve. You can answer any internet research question comprehensively in minutes. It takes between 5 and 15 minutes to execute a deep research report.
And if you're old enough like me and you remember high school or even elementary school days where you'd have an assignment to do a project on, like I remember, as an example, I had to do a project on India, the country of India. So, all right, Rob goes to the library. Hey, librarian, where can I find books on India? Oh, that section over there. All right. Now I'm faced with a couple hundred books about history of India and all things related to India. All right, I'm going to pull 10 off the shelf because that's about all I can carry. Carry the stack of books over to the table. Now I'm going to start going through them. Might look at the index, might randomly open them to a page, find a few good paragraphs. Great. Now I'm going to start by hand. I'm writing out the notes. I'm copying them. I'm paraphrasing them. I'm making a little footnote of this I got from this book. It's called this. It's this title. It's published by. And, hours, days later, my research paper is done. Deep research does all of that. And it's not just looking at 10 books. It's not just looking at all the books in that library. It's looking at like a vast cross section of all of the books that exist on that.
Yeah.
It's
plus all the most recent scholarly articles published about it, or blogs, or Reddit, or whatever you want to point it to. And then this begs the question. I got 2 kids, 13 and 16 years old. Yeah, you can have it do all of your work. So aren't we going to lose that ability to synthesize, to research? Yes, we're going to have some skills atrophy, and then some higher order abilities and skills around synthesizing, around organizing will start to strengthen. So that's a very real thing. It's just like, I like to say, the calculator. So if you want to do something really complex in math and you don't have a calculator, okay, it's going to be slow. It's going to take you, a much, much longer time to get there. And if you're using a calculator for everything, maybe some of your, calculator type skills, so those basic skills are going to start to atrophy a bit. So there is a trade-off here. And so I'd say people say, well, I don't use, Claude for my writing, even though it's really good because I want to practice my writing. I want to get it. Okay, amazing. Use it as an editor. Use it as a brainstorming partner. Use it to criticize your writing. Use it. Everybody can be using AI for their most important work when you consciously decide, what do I want to strengthen and improve? What am I good at? What do I love doing? How do I get better at that? And how do I have the AI do everything else? These are the sorts of things that people need to be thinking about.
Yeah, there's a skill set loss risk, there's a skill set shift. And the other thing that I think about is I had, I'll go back now, hindsight 2020. I had the fortunate circumstance of having to go to that library and do it the manual way before all this came out. I have such a deep appreciation for the power of what deep research is, how much time it saves, and just how amazing it is. People who are growing up in an era where it already exists as they're growing up, they will never know that library experience. Will they be able to ever appreciate what AI is capable of without having actually done it the old way themselves?
Yeah. It's a whole new world. I was at a conference last week and someone talked about a book called The 100-Year Life. And the stat is that 50% of people born after 2007, so both my kids, 50% of those people will live to be 100. So our kids are coming into a completely different world. I often get asked for like career advice, like how would you help, prepare kids for the new modern world of work? First of all, I say, I don't know. And second of all, I say,
that's helpful.
Well, I mean, because we can't predict it.
No, you can't. No.
But what I think, and Seth Godin wrote a book about this 15 years ago called "Stop Stealing Dreams," and basically, there's two jobs of the education system. Number one, beyond like teaching the basics, help kids solve interesting problems. So to me, purpose, passion, their interests, what are you actually interested in? Because the closer we get to that abundant future, like people still want to work and do things. And so what is it that you're insatiably interested in and passionate about? What problems you want to solve? What difference you want to make? Double down on that. The second thing is, how do I work with other people? How do I lead? How do I manage myself? How do I manage my relationships? So those are intrinsically important things for humans to accentuate with AI, to get better at, to focus on. The rest of it, what other skills are also going to be important or valued, I have no idea. But those two things, following your passion, your purpose, making the difference you want to make, learning about the things you care about, and working with other people, those are really important to double down on right now.
All right, Edwin, let's wrap it up with one final question. If you could put one message on a billboard for millions of business leaders, founders, fractionals to see as they drive by it on the highway of life every single day, what would you put on that billboard?
Yeah, I would say AI is the greatest gift humanity has ever given to itself. Have you opened your gift? Have you opened your gift? Now, the problem with that is it maybe sounds like a billboard for Microsoft or something like that. If I had more time to think about that, it's like a Tim Ferriss question. I know he often asks his guests that question. I'd come up with a better answer. So the next time you have me on, I'll have a better answer for you. But that's what I believe, and that's what I wish everybody believed as well.
Well, you'll like this story. So we have had one guest who actually said, "Hang on, I'm gonna just use ChatGPT to help me answer that."
Oh, wow. Okay, I should do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'll do a debrief on this. Once you send me the transcript of this call, I'll feed it into my AI, and I'm gonna ask it for feedback on how I could have done this better, and we'll see what it says.
All right. Well, when this episode drops, it'll be on LinkedIn among other places, so you can add some comments in there with the PS to all of this, and also you can share with us what your buddy Rocky Patel had to say about how AI is affecting the cigar industry.
Yes, I will ask him. I'll ask him, and he's a fascinating, really fun, really smart guy. So I'm sure he'll have an interesting answer.
Amazing. All right, Edwin, this has been great. We covered a lot of ground, more than I thought we would, but I think this is fascinating. And maybe we do another check-in in 6 or 12 months, because God knows things will just have changed all over again. And we'll have
exactly.
a new set of things to talk about as far as AI goes.
Totally.
All right, Edwin, thanks so much again for being here on the Fractional Pros Canada podcast.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Fractional Pros Canada podcast. If you're a fractional professional based in Canada, we'd love to have you join us in the Fractional Pros Canada Facebook group, the home for Canada's fractional community. It's where Canadian fractional executives connect, share insights, and help each other succeed. Until next time, I'm Robert Mendelson, Fractional CMO. May your impact be full-time, even if your hours are fractional.